All right. So today we're going to be going over employing the Autodesk Takeoff tool, a new part of the unified platform from the Autodesk Construction Cloud to enhance your estimations. Now, a little bit of setup here. Everyone's going to be on mute for the duration of the presentation, but definitely please feel free to put any comments or questions into the Q&A or into the chat window. I'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the duration of the presentation. All right, so little information about Microdesk. We are an AECO technology consulting firm. We were established in '94. We have 13 locations in the US and including the UK. And our team of professionals all come from the industry. So my background was as an architect. We have people who come from engineering, construction, design, you name it, manufacturing as well. And what we're focusing on these days is really helping all of our partners with the trends of globalization, urbanization, and sustainability. So we expect to see more than 2.5 billion people moving into urban centers over the next 30 years. Cities are producing and consuming most of the greenhouse gases and energy. So how are we going to address that? We're working with our clients to make sure that they are utilizing all the tools and technology at their hands to do things for the best. And as part of that help, we actually help with design, construction, and operations. And we have services that cover every aspect of the process. And because our team actually is coming from the background, we understand all the different phases of a project. We have people on staff that are developers, so we can create custom content and actually applications. So anything our clients need, we can help out with. We partner with some of the main people in the industry, Autodesk, of course, IBM, Panzera, Esri, Bluebeam, Unity, Unified Plannerly, just to name a few. Now, myself, my name is Peter Marchese. I'm the Senior Technology Evangelist over at Microdesk. I've been in the industry for over 25 years now, and my focus over the last 2 years has been more on the emerging technology side. So helping out our teams still with Revit and other BIM applications, but focusing on the different cloud services, BIM 360, now the Autodesk Construction Cloud, Navisworks, Insight, and also still working with different training for advanced topics and workflows and customization. Now, today's presentation is going to be focusing on the takeoff component of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So we're going to go a little bit for a level set in terms of what the Construction Cloud is, because we still get a lot of questions on that, and how it relates to BIM 360. Then we're going to hop into Autodesk Takeoff, go over what it does, how you can use it, what the features are, and then any Q&A that's left over at the end, I'll be touching on that and showing anything else people ask about. Now, before we really get rolling, I do have a couple of questions I like to ask the audience. So this will only take a second. So first one, what's your role? Always like to know who it is that I'm talking to. Cool, good mix today. Good amount of other, actually. Apparently I need to be a little bit more careful or a little bit more open with my options here. Alrighty. Next one here is going to be, are you currently using BIM 360 or any of the unified platform tools? Oh, wow, a lot of people that haven't used it yet. Hopefully this will answer any questions that you have and let you know if they'll be beneficial for what your workflows are currently. And then lastly, are you currently using any 3D estimating tools? So not necessarily like 2D where I would just be doing counts and putting markups or drawing lines on things, but actually utilizing 3D content or models, whether it was for civil and infrastructure work or if it's for architecture construction. Oh, good mix. All right. Great. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating in this. I really appreciate it. Always good to know who I'm talking to make sure my examples are actually going to hit home. Perfect. And again, if anybody does have any questions, just drop them into the Q&A window, and I'll be sure to answer them as I go through things or at the very end. Now, in terms of the Autodesk Construction Cloud, so that is the overarching title for all of Autodesk's cloud services. So up until about a month or two ago, that was BIM 360, PlanGrid, Building Connected, Assemble, Pipe, and the Autodesk Construction Cloud Connect. Now, last month, Autodesk released the Unified Platform. And the Unified Platform is essentially a merger of the main functions of both BIM 360 and PlanGrid. So the idea is, as you could guess, we're unifying the different aspects of the construction cloud. Rather than having separate tools to do things, we're going to try to make one thing that actually covers all the bases. Now, in terms of what the Unified Platform is or does, I always like to start off with BIM 360 because most people are familiar with this. And terminology is important to make sure we're all thinking about the same thing. Now, if I typically say classic BIM 360, that's going to equate to the things here in green. So like BIM 360 Glue, which was horizontal glue, collaboration for Revit, or BIM 360 Field, which used to be Vela Systems. So that's the classic components. And when Autodesk came out with the next gen, all the new pieces, that's everything here in blue. So if you bought, say, BIM 360 Design, that got access to all the new features in next gen and all the components of the classic products as well. Now, where we're going with this is the Unified Platform. And the nice thing is all these sort of silos, in some respects, or products line up with each other. So if I say Autodesk Docs, easy way to think of it is it's similar to BIM 360 Docs. So now some of the names here are changing a little bit. So you've got BIM 360 Coordinate is now Autodesk BIM Collaborate. BIM 360 Design is now referred to as BIM Collaborate Pro. And then you have Build and Build. And then the new one that we're going to be talking about today is Takeoff. So when we're talking about the Unified Platform, all of these components, similar to BIM 360, have their consistent common data environment. That's going to be the Docs component, our document management. So putting our content in the consistent location that's available from just about anywhere. It allows us to do our issues, markups, issues, markups, and file sharing. And all of those different components have a lot of different functionality, different things that we could take advantage of to make our projects a little bit more smooth, work better, and to take advantage of all the different tools that are currently available to us. So the BIM Collaborate and Collaborate Pro, that gives us the ability to do excuse me, change management. I can actually see how my models are changing from version to version. I can actually clash those models automatically by having folders that it reviews. And I can manage my work sharing, whether I'm talking about having multiple users in Revit or a team working in Plant 3D or Civil 3D. Autodesk Build, that's more of my project management or my field management. So things like RFIs, submittals, meeting minutes, change orders, cost management, punch lists, all of that. And again, the one that we're going to be focusing on today is our Autodesk Takeoff. That's great for our scope analysis, and both for 2D and for 3D takeoff. It allows me to essentially go through all of them. And without any further ado, let's actually hop into the service. So what I'm looking at right now is my project here on the Unified Platform. So I've set this up. I've got my dashboard. I can see whatever information I've chosen to show here, whether it's the address, weather, safety risk, RFIs. Main thing in here is I'm going to hop over to my docs. You've got your insight and the different components that we have in. And I can look at my docs. And similar to BIM 360, I've got my folder structure here. I can set up the content that I want to actually work with or share. In this case, I've got my project files, my architecture folder, I have my working models in there. I got my project documents here as well. And I can also share specific files specifically for the field. And some of the things I have in here are PDFs. And I'm going to come back here in just a minute now. Now, the component that we're specifically talking about is Takeoff. And what that allows me to do is create packages that say, okay, I am looking for my counts or estimates of, X items within my project. Now, what I need to do, though, is a little bit of setup for that. So I'm going to go to my Takeoff. And nicely, it actually rounds everything out for me. So I'm on my Takeoff. I'm on my home. I can see my recent information. And what I can do here is I'm going to go down here to my settings. I can make sure my project and everything is working the way I need to. I can set up my members, make sure they have access to it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my packages. Now, in order to create this package here, there's a little bit of work that we have to do in the beginning. So I'm going to go to my settings here, and we choose what our measurement system is going to be. So in this case, I've chosen Imperial already. And now I have my classification system. How do I want to actually organize the data that I work with? And this is something that I can import in via an Excel spreadsheet. So in this case, this is the template that I started off with from Autodesk. So they make it easy to actually work with. So the first bit of here tells you all the information that you need to know. How does it need to be formatted? What information goes where? If you're putting in what the specific measurement is, this is what we can choose from. And then you basically can set this up however you feel. What's the organization that you want? Do you want to go CSI? Do you want to go uniformat? This is up to you. How do I want to break down all the things that I'm going to be doing my takeoffs on? Is it a really simple project where I just need 5 items? Or do I want to have a structure where I can actually expand a tree out and break it down into various, discrete components? Once I've determined how I want to actually work on this, then I'll upload that here to Autodesk Takeoff. And if what I need to do is track multiple things, I can add an additional classification system to the items that I count. And I'll go over a little bit more about what this means in a few minutes. So that's my first thing. I've got all my projects set up. Then I come in here and I determine what's my measurement system, and then how am I classifying my data. Now from there, then I need to make sure I actually have data to work with. So I can come over here to my files. And this is essentially going to show me the content that I was looking at before inside of the docs component, inside of my document management. Now for 2D content, what I can do is look at those PDFs that I showed you before in my documents folder. So this is my 2D PDF. I can check the box for the content that I want, and then I can come over here and say publish to Takeoff sheets and models. So that's one way I can take my PDFs that might already be inside of the Autodesk Docs component and bring it straight into my Takeoff. So in this case, if I add this to my current set, my submittal that I'm working on, this is going to extract my sheet data. Now, if you've ever used PlanGrid, very similar to how it would create your sheets from the actual PDFs. If you've used the plans location inside of BIM 360, same idea. So what this is going to do is it's looking at the different sheets that I have inside of that PDF. It's going to extract my sheet numbers. Once this is finished, so I can look through here, I can see where they're actually getting it. All the numbers line up with the examples that I have there. And then I'll say I want to actually go through to the next page once it finishes snicking. And then I get to choose, okay, well, you've got the number. What about the title? Where's that? And essentially, you can see this little blue square here that it actually chose automatically. I can go into that title block and essentially draw the box where where my title is, and it'll pull that information out for me. And then from that point, it'll pull in that PDF, and I can start utilizing that for my takeoffs. Now, just to speed things up, I'm actually just going to cancel this for the time being because I've already got some content in there to work with. So in this case, I've got my sheets and models. Those were sheets that were published from the docs component. Now for my 3D models, I do have to manually upload those. So in that case, what I'll end up doing is I'll download my project from the Construction Cloud, or just upload it from my local files if I'm only working locally. Once my content is uploaded, I can come over here and now I can create my package. So pretty quickly, go in, do my settings. Am I doing Imperial? What am I classifying things as? Upload your content and then create the package. And that package is essentially, how am I going to organize all my data together? So this is my DD review. And I can see, again, all those views, whether they're 3D or 2D, right here to work with. Now, in this case, I've got a good amount of content. And if I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, where did we leave off? I can always click on my filter and say, you know what, I only want to see 3D views, or maybe only show me my 2D views, or just show me the views that actually have takeoffs already. In this case, I can see that I've already put a takeoff here on my sheet for 102, as well as on some of my models. On the bottom left-hand corner, I have a little icon here for my inventory. So I can also come through here and see all the things that have already been taken off. And by clicking on elements, I can say, you know what, take me to where that is. So same idea as me coming over here to 102 and clicking on that. I clicked on my tiled flooring, and that opened up the view and took me right to where that tile flooring is. So I've got a couple of ways to filter my views and make sure I'm finding what it is that I'm looking for. So now that I've got my view set up, I can see where I am. I'm just going to turn off my mini map for a minute. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change my view on the upper left-hand corner to my takeoff types. So rather than looking at my views, I want to look at what's currently taken off. And at this point, I've got a few things. I've got my office desk and my tile flooring. Now, if I click on my tile flooring, what that's actually doing is it's allowing me to create more of this specific thing. It automatically went down here to creating areas. So let's say I realize that, you know what, we need to put tile flooring in the janitor's closet too. So this is actually going to snap to the corners. And as I'm adding that, my numbers are growing up. I'm seeing that there's more content that's in here. So I can keep adding more things. Now, if what I need to do is I realize that, oh, I made a change to something, I need to start counting more things. Perfect. Go to my office desk. Just keep clicking. If I realize, oh, yep, nope, that's actually wrong. I got to fix that. Nothing here is locked in stone. I can always click on it. I can move them. I can remove them one at a time. I can also come over here and actually find those elements and make changes. So let me go to my furnishings. I can see as each one of these I select, it highlights it. I'm just going to grab a couple of these and tell it that, yeah, you know what, those ones are extra. I don't need that. So I can make modifications and delete them as need be. The other thing I can do is, let's say that I have something like this where I want to actually have an opening in it, or I need to have some weird shapes. So let's say I have this here, and then I have another one that overlaps it. So this makes it very easy. I can actually select multiple elements and tell it that I want to combine those. I can always come in here and actually manipulate them after the fact. If I have a dot there that I don't need, I can actually remove the vertex. Same idea. Let's say that I want to actually get rid of the space here. And I can apply that as a cutout. There we go. And essentially, that will actually cut that space out of that. And the other thing I can do is if I realize that, you know what, I don't want that to actually be an opening anymore. I want that to actually be filled in. You can right click on it and remove it as well. So you have several items in there that you can modify as need be. You're not locked into any one thing. You can tweak that, remove it, edit it as need be. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you actually do your markups. Now I'm working with a markup that already exists. So what I'm actually going to do is create a brand new one. So I'm going to go over here, hit the plus symbol. That allows me to create a brand new takeoff type. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say fire rated wall. And I'm going to do that based on line. I can make changes to my appearance. How do I want this to actually look? I'm going to choose where do I want this to actually be organized. So I'm going to say that's going to be interiors, interior construction. I'll say partitions. How do I want that output to be counted? I'll say linear feet. Start that takeoff. And then I can sit here and trace my walls. Again, didn't really draw that clean, so let me come over here and I can modify that as need be. And I can see that as I'm drawing these lines, that number is actually going up. So I can keep actually making modifications, tweaking how things work, making the changes as need be. Now let's say when I did this, I actually made a mistake. I can always come in here and make some changes. So if that wasn't the right thing, maybe I started off as count. So I can see that now my interior construction is just a count of 2. Okay, well, make a change. That really meant to be linear feet, or that meant to be in a different folder. So you're not locked in from that initial choice. I can come back and make changes to the color, as well as to the organization of this. Now, let's say that in addition to counting this as a wall, I also wanted to count it as something else. What I can do is come through here and use that secondary output. So when I was creating what the actual organization was going to be, I'm uploading that uniformat in this case, I could have added a second organization, and that's where I can actually set this up. You also have the ability to create formulas. So if I'm measuring something and I want to actually calculate, I'm using 2D drawings, but I'm looking for volume. So, okay, in that case, I can actually start saying I want the output to be in volume, but I want the formula to take the length and then multiply that by a height and a thickness. So I can put in the math that I need to generate the numbers that I'm actually looking for. Now, you might be wondering, okay, well, how does this understand what I'm working with? How does it actually able to get these kind of numbers? Well, the easy thing is, if I actually get rid of my filter and say, just grab one of my 2D views, first thing it needs me to do is actually set the scale of my view. So as I'm working with the 2D view, it doesn't necessarily understand what my distances are. So the first step is to come down here and say that from there to there is, in this case, 3 feet. Set that calibration. Now it tells me what the actual scale is. So if I already knew it to begin with, I can double check it down here. And now I can come down and say, okay, well, let's start working. So do I want to start doing more tile flooring? Do I want to start using more fire-rated wall, the office desk? I can take advantage of the organization or the different kinds of takeoffs that I've set up already, and then start applying them to as many different views as I want. So I don't have to rebuild this every single time I go into another view and start making changes. So this is how I can take advantage of Takeoff for my 2D views. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop those into the questions window. Just keeping an eye on there just in case anything pops up. So I'm going to hop back up here to my sheets and models. Now, up until this point, I've been doing 2D work, which is pretty simple. You click on it, you trace it, you draw what you want. But it's relying on me as a user to interpret the 2D drawing and trace it and assign it correctly. So what I'm actually going to do is go to one of my other views here. So easy thing for me to do is grab my structural model. And now I can see all the content that's in here. You might notice that a few things look like they have weird colors, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute. Now in this case, I've got some footings that I've taken off, and I've also been counting my parking spaces. Now let's say that what I'm really looking for is my columns though. So I can click on a column here, and I'm going to say I want to actually count that. So I'm going to hit the plus symbol. Now, because I'm selecting an object, it understands what that object is. It automatically adds that to the name. So this is going to be looking for W12 by 40. So I can choose what color I want it to be. If I want to, I can also put a description in here. So Kevin, that question that you just asked about inputting what type of wall, if I want to put that data into my takeoff, I can easily put it in either the name or the description. Or if I want to go to that level of detail, I can just make sure that my organization down here actually has that. So I'm saying superstructure, and I want to say count to start with. I'll say start takeoff. Now in this case, it just sees the 1, but I can easily add all of these by just saying select all. I just grabbed all of that. I can see that currently there's 30 of them, and I hit the check mark. Now I've just counted all of those elements, and those are now part of my takeoff. Now, first question that usually comes over here is, well, how are you sure you got all of them? I mean, yeah, you right-clicked on it, but is there a way to tell? So, easy way to do that is I'm going to come over here and say form clusters. Now, if anyone's ever used some different viewers that Autodesk had that worked with Forge as examples of how you could utilize the viewer, you might have seen this. But essentially what it does is it takes all the elements of my project and breaks them apart into different piles. If you've ever heard of knolling, it's almost like that. But here I can see those footings that were different colors. all of these green ones have been counted already. So when I chose this, you notice how I chose purple as the color for my column. These guys here were that green color. So it's an easy way for me to look at all of my elements and see what is and what isn't counted yet. So I can see that all of these columns have been selected, but not the others. Basically because when I selected it, it grabbed all of that specific type of column, the W12. Not good, not bad, just that's what I chose. Now let's say what I'm trying to do though is I want to grab all of something. There's a couple of ways that I can easily do this. So let's say I want to grab all of my structural columns at once and make one big one. Well, I'm looking at the view right now, so easy thing to do, let's do a big window. I've now just grabbed all of my structural columns. So if my intent really is to not rely on that right click and only grab it by that same type, but I want to grab it more by the category, I can come to this view and just do a window select. And now I've selected all of those, and if that's indeed what I really want, I check the box, and now I've got all of my columns taken off. Now, in reality, this probably is not how I would actually be counting all my columns, but it's an example. So I'm going to bring this back to normal. Yeah, let's see. Now, a couple of other things that I can do here. I showed two ways that I can grab certain elements. I can right-click on it, and I can take it to that group. Now, you still have the other ways of selecting or modifying things in your view, as you would for the normal cloud viewer. So I can select items and see my properties. But what I can also do is go to my model viewer. So in this case, if I select an element, it takes me right to where that is in that viewer. So let's say what I really want to do is I want to do a count of all of my joists. So I grab a joist and that takes me here. And then I just start going upstream. Do I want to grab all of the joists of that specific type or all of my K-rod joists? Now this view is great because it filters my view. It's essentially only selecting those elements. So if what I want to do is grab all of those, same idea. The window select that just grabbed everything there. I'm going to say I want to do a new takeoff. K-series joists. Start takeoff. Check the box. They're now all counted. So a couple of easy ways for me to go through and grab all of the elements from my project and make sure that I can actually see everything that I need. Okay. Let's take a look at the questions real quick. Gotcha. Okay. So these are a couple of things that I can do within the view. Now, on my sheet, I can see a lot of the inventory. It's not too bad. I can group it by the output, the document, or even the takeoff type. So if I don't want to have to navigate through that big list, I can simplify it a little bit. But let's say that I'm not working on a laptop. I have multiple monitors. Well, easy thing for me to do here is to say that I want to actually break this out and take this and put it on another screen. So, take advantage of all the screen real estate that you actually have. Make sure that I'm looking at the model in the biggest view possible, and then looking at the information from that model in the best way possible. And then when I'm ready to actually go back to work or to get rid of this, all I have to do is close this view again, and that puts it right back where it was. And if I want to actually turn this view off, just hit the little X. I can easily bring it back by just clicking on that. So there's a lot of different ways for me to go about navigating and viewing the content and making sure that everything shows up the way that I need to. So, easy ways for me to track what I'm doing. So I'm going to hop back to my home page for 1 second. So when I first go to the home portion of Takeoff, you've got your basic getting started that explains what you have to do to set things up. I've got my recent sheets and models, so I can tell everything that's been worked on and my recent Takeoff packages. Now, if I want to take the data that I've built from here and actually start working on that elsewhere, I can go into my packages, select the package that you're working with, and then go down here to my data, and I've got export. Now, what export is going to do is it's going to take all the information that you actually have in the inventory, all the things that I've been working on or taking off, and that'll export that out to an Excel spreadsheet. and you'll see the organization that you've got set up. So even though I have that really big Excel spreadsheet that had all the information, it's only sending me out the information that I've already filled in, things that I'm working with. I can see the count, the quantity. Now, keep in mind here, the quantity might not always be the same as the count. That depends on if I'm running a formula or what the formatting is for what I'm choosing. The code that it's assigned, the description within the code, and then what document I'm actually counting that from. Where am I getting that number from? So this allows me to take that and then work with it in a Power BI, Excel spreadsheet, tie it into other tools that might have costing information, and then keep moving forward with that. Now, typically the first question that comes on from this is, well, how do I know what happens if something changes? Well, easy thing with this is that if you actually have an update on it, and I did this with screenshots just to keep things smooth, so we wouldn't wait for the cloud service to run through and process. But you're going to get a notification. So if you see a model that has been changed, you'll see that little warning symbol next to the version. So that gives you a heads up. Now that's giving me two options, restart or move. Basically what that means is that you have two ways you can look at this. If you choose to restart, you're not losing the takeoff types, but I would have to reapply them to what I've worked with. So if it's a model, I would go in and right-click, select all, or do the window selects, and then reapply them to the elements. If I do the move takeoff, what that's going to do is take the content that I was already counting. Again, everything is intelligent with the model, so it's coming from Revit, it has element IDs. It just moves it to that new version of the element ID and adjusts the count that it previously had. Any new items I would still have to take off, but all of the existing content that was in there would be moved and then adjusted as per the changes in that model. So it gives me a good amount of flexibility and makes it easy to work with. Cool. So a couple of questions. Question here, is there any way to automate based on assigned materials in Revit and output per floor, per building, etc.? So at this point, there's no automation built into it outside of me going through and saying, I want to select these elements and add them. There still is that manual process of either drawing on the 2D or selecting the 3D and then adding that to the count, at least at the moment. Another question, when you upload a PDF drawing set, does it remember the order of the sheets? So it's looking at the order based on the setup that you do from that sheet export. So when I started going through and actually tagging elements or pulling the data out, that's going to set that up. It's not necessarily looking at the order in the PDF, but the order that you can set up. Another one here, will this work on an engineer's MEP model? Yep, it's as long as it's a model in the format that the Takeoff can take advantage of, yes. So in this case, I'm looking at a MEP model. If I wanted to go through here and say, grab all of whatever, go. So I can select all those elements. I can go through and actually create my takeoffs from that. If I wanted to grab all the items that are whichever of what I need, just the same way as I did for the structure. And I also have the ability to sort of explode this out. So this makes it very easy if I'm trying to go through certain things like lighting devices. So if I want to make sure I'm counting all of my switches at once, grab them there, do a big window. Spell it correctly. And then go through here and assign it to the correct thing. So as long as that model is a Revit file and I'm uploading this and things are sort of organized correctly, it makes it very easy for me to grab. And just like before, I can come through here and select the items based on the type, or start going through and doing window select, or just come through and grab it based on the kind of element it is here. I just want to grab all the 2x3s. And you can also search, thankfully. And then I can do just a nice big window and grab all of my troffers at once. So a couple of ways for me to actually go through and select my content, manage that, and set it up so that way I'm getting an accurate takeoff of the elements of my project. Now, a couple of things that are interesting, that are important to understand with the takeoff. When we worked with BIM 360, typically everybody that was not using BIM 360 design had a license that was assigned from the hub owner. When we talk about the unified platform, which Takeoff is a part of, that's a bring your own, meaning that I can use my own license for Autodesk Takeoff on anyone else's project that they invite me to. They don't actually have to provide me with a license unless I don't have one or they want to. So it makes it easier to collaborate with people because you're no longer having to give them one of your own seats. Now, with regards to getting access to this, so certain aspects of the unified platform come automatically. If you own the AEC collection, you've already got docs. If you already had BIM 360 design, you've been upgraded to BIM Collaborate Pro. So now you actually have the Clash features. So coordinate will be automatically changing to Collaborate upon the renewal. But if you already own Assemble, you can actually request, and then based on which version of Assemble you have, you can get a couple of seats of Autodesk Takeoff. So you might already have access to this. You just have to reach out and let us know. We can put in a ticket for you and get you access to Takeoff based on your Assemble purchases. And if you don't have any of these, docs again comes with the collection. BIM Collaborate and Collaborate Pro are purchased the same way as Design and Coordinate used to be. There's volume pack licensing. Takeoff is excuse me, about $100 a month if you look at the actual subscription price. If you are getting it monthly, though, it is $109. And then Build is priced very similar to how PlanGrid was. Again, for the unified platform, this is working off of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So you have a lot of options based on what you're trying to do within the project. If you're just looking to share documents, working on files, Docs takes care of that, and that comes with the collection. If you're looking to collaborate and coordinate on projects, AutoCAD, Civil 3D, Plant 3D, Revit, you've got your BIM Collaborate Pro, which comes with the aspects of Collaborate. So if you're just sharing models or receiving models and you want to do clash detection, all you need is BIM Collaborate. If you're doing field work, you've got Autodesk Build. And if you're doing takeoffs, you're trying to do quantification, both for 2D and or 3D, you've got Autodesk Takeoff. And as I think we showed, it's really user-friendly. It's easy to get into. You create your organization with how you want to take it off, and you can either start tracing or selecting objects, and it does it for you. And then from that point, you can export out to Excel and put it in with other tools you're currently working with to actually do your estimates or to track the changes from version to version. You can see how those numbers adjust. So any new questions? Take a look here. Question, does this work with Assemble? As of right now, there's no direct workflow with Assemble. They do have a good amount of overlap in terms of the quantifications, but they also serve different workflows. So Assemble is purely 3D, while this works with 3D and 2D. A little bit more similar to Navisworks in some respects. Wait for some more questions to come in. Just to let you know, we have some upcoming webinars that are coming in. So the next one is going to be April 1st. We're going to be integrating Unity Reflect in BIM 360 for real-time workflows. So if you're looking at Unity as a tool that will allow you to do live walkthroughs of models highly rendered from either a desktop or a mobile device, we're going to show you how to take advantage of BIM 360 to streamline that workflow. So that way you don't have to upload from the authors tool. You can actually connect it to the project in BIM 360 to make it a lot easier and more user-friendly. Next one after that's going to be April 20th, where we're going over using the Autodesk Construction Cloud Connect service to coordinate different project management tools. So that's a really great tool. It allows you to create integrations with different services and components to make life a lot easier and to break down project silos. And I don't see any new questions in there, but if there are any questions that come up, anybody realizes second descends, oh, I meant to ask this, definitely feel free to reach out to us. We have our 1-800 number in the US as well as in the UK. Sales support at Microdesk for any questions or suggestions. If there's other webinars that you think we should cover, I'd really love it if you went over this. let us know. We love the feedback. Otherwise, everybody, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Hopefully this was helpful. And if there are any other questions, definitely let us know. Thank you very much.